Hi, welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. I was just listening to Beyond the Imaginary Curves. Latest video was posted yesterday, streamed yesterday, and it even had some of it from me. The email I sent to Dow, which obviously I didn't word very well because he didn't get the message really properly. But I put it on his thing about the 1 minute truth silence. And who else I sent it to? Subtle Infinity. I sent it to him as well. So I don't know whether it's a good idea or not. But anyway, that's not really what I wanted to talk about. It was a good point that Dow mentioned on Beyond the Imaginary Curve on his YouTube stream, which was about the black hole photo. I was going to say photo. It's not photo. Image. And the interesting, well, a lot of what he said is worth listening to actually, because he goes through the broadcast they made when they're all talking about it, and the way that they use language in an open way to sort of tell you that this isn't a photograph, this isn't an actual, it's created, it's an image, is data that's been extrapolated to make what you see. But a lot of people don't, even though those words are actually going through their head, because they're seeing the image, they're disregarding what they're hearing, the fact that this is not a photograph as you or I would take, and therefore we could take it as gospel, as it were. If I took a picture of a building or a tree, with a normal photograph, that what you're seeing is, fairly accurate to what it really looks like. Whereas this isn't the case when it comes to this Event Horizon Telescope, if it does even exist, if space does even exist. It's data, is not a picture that's beamed through space, and that's what it is. It's data that is, I assume it's a row of numbers that is then somehow extrapolated to make an image. So obviously on that extrapolation, it depends how accurate that is. How accurate can you be to light waves bouncing off things, or however they're doing it? They don't explain any of that kind of thing when they're talking about how this image has been created, but they do keep saying the word created and all that kind of stuff. So it makes you aware that it's, but obviously a lot of people, that's flying over their head. They're just seeing an image and thinking, oh, that's exactly what it looks like. And we know also with a lot of them, the color is added, so it is problematic in that the fact that you're adding color, you're getting what you want from the image. You're seeing the data, and in your mind you have a certain expectation, and you're creating that image. So how much of the human influence is based on what you've seen there? But none of that is broadcast when it goes on the news or the media, and even when they show them. The interesting thing I thought about the professor who was talking about it is, if you look at his name, he's got fake written in his name. If you take a few letters away, you can make Professor Fake, which I thought was, I don't know, was that intentional or not? Because I don't know really a lot of this stuff, whether, I know there's some flat earthers, to use that term, who don't believe in space. I don't know, to be honest. I can't really say whether it does or does not exist. I mean, for a flat earth, I think you can still say it exists, and it doesn't. I know the reason why is a lot to do with gravity and stuff like that, because for a globe, you 100% need gravity for this idea of this ball of not falling off it and all that kind of stuff. But so a lot of flat earthers, because it's not been proven, will want to get rid of that. But I don't know whether, to me, it doesn't. You can still have a flat earth and have gravity and have space, but whether we've explored it, whether we've gone out, that's another thing. How far we've gone. So that's neither here nor there, but it's just conjecture, because I don't know. I haven't travelled that far. I can't see that far. I would only be speculating, whether these things do exist or not, and there's a level of assumption in that. But yeah, just interests you how these stories are broadcast. And the fact is also what Dale mentioned, the very important part, is that how many billions, let's just say that there is space and this telescope is really out there and it has captured this data and this is coming back as true, which it could be. How many billions has it cost? How many people have been on the payroll for this job? How much technology is spent on this? How much? Billions. And like Dale was saying that what about what's going on here? What does this really give us? This picture of this donut black hole really give us? Yes, okay, I guess you can look at it from a human perspective of how great we are of knowing, the universe or the expanse or whatever you want to call it, the void. But how does it help us? Maybe there are future things that it can help with if space does exist, to do space travel or doing things with this black hole, whatever. But what about the things that are happening day to day, that aren't being sorted out? The people that are starving, the people that don't even have a house, the people on the streets, the people who are dying of diseases that may have cures or already have cures. All of the stuff that's going on this planet. And even if you want to just locate it to America, who are paying for this, I assume, their country is far from finished when it comes to people still suffering, people still dying needlessly and all that kind of stuff. We need to sort out our shit first before we go out and do other things. But the fact is that it just shows that, they're all happy about this. But if someone actually turned around and asked them, and of course no journalist would, of a truthful, honest question of, yes, how much did this cost? This cost £200 billion to get this image of a black hole and some data that could be used in the future. Okay, and then the journalist asked them, okay, so but with that £100 billion, all those people that are sleeping on the streets, all those people that couldn't afford maybe some kind of treatment because of their insurance that they can't afford, those people that died in that time that you've paid for all this money, how do you justify the morality of that decision of spending this £100 billion to get this image? And then hopefully the NASA person would crumble and sort of not be able to answer that question and wouldn't try and defend themselves in some kind of scientific way. But the thing is, that will never happen because no one wants to poo-poo on their parade, as it were, despite the very fact that it's true. We are wasting money. I mean, not just that, in lots of things that I've talked about as well, how commerce works, how businesses work, how competition works, all this waste of money when people are suffering. I mean, really, we need to sort that out before the whole system. But the problem is that the system is the problem because it's not designed to cater for every single person's needs, despite there being enough of what every person's needs around us. And the other thing that I was watching that sort of lies into this was this program. It was Nigel Havers, and I can't remember the lady's name. She's a comedian. They were going on BA's planes, and there was like was it Channel 4, Channel 5? It was like economy versus first class, and they were showing the difference. And I just wonder how they explain that morally, how they can do that. They can operate a plane, and they can treat one set of people differently than another. And I know this is a whole class war thing that's been going on for generations, and people like George Orwell and who's the author of Robert Tressel, Charles Dickens, and etc. have H.G. Wells have often postulated on this idea of class. But I mean, even in this day and age, how can you charge, £10,000, say, for a flight to New York for first class, and £1,000, say, for economy? How can you be serving someone plasticky food out of a microwave, and yet on the other hand you can be serving them, food that is like actual real food, that you can taste? How can you be treating someone to sit in a very tight square like a caged hen, and on the other side you've got this big space and leather chairs and all that? I mean, how do you justify that morally to how you're treating individuals that should all be equal? or those people like Richard Branson and whoever's the head of BA and all these other companies, trains, all that have these class divides, how do they justify that morally for what they're doing, or do they not feel that they need to? Because surely, we all have to answer for that. How do you make it justifiable that you treat individuals that we all have the same, we all have a brain, all have a heart, all have eyes, all have feelings, we're all born the same and we all die the same, but why are we not all treated the same? How do you justify that as a human being? Or those people don't feel that they need to, it's just business and that's just the way it is and that's acceptable? Well, I don't think it is really. Anyway, take care, take it easy, God bless and peace.